So up until now, we've been looking at doing very simple imputation. In this case, we've just been imputing with the mean, but you could do, like I said, a business rule or something like that. But let's look at some more complicated ways of imputing missing values. So let's go back to the let's do a summary right now, and let's see which ones we need to fix still. And again, we're only going to work with numbers for the moment. So when we do this, we can see these guys right here. Nothing's missing. Nothing's missing over here for kids driving and the home, you know, how many kids you have at home. But aha, look at this. We've got income. Now that's missing. So what can we do for that? And we also have home value. So this is the other guy we have to still fix. The other numerical value, travel time to work, this is how long they have to go to work, that's not missing. The Blue Book value of their car isn't missing. We don't have to worry about that. Time in force, this is how long they've had an insurance policy. We don't have to fix that. Number of people on the policy. So we're pretty much done. The only thing we have to do is fix these last guys. So let's look at the income first. Now, we could do this a couple of different ways. So if we don't know your income, what should we do about that? Well, one thing we could do is we could assume if you applied for insurance with our company and you didn't tell us your income, we could do something using a business rule, for example. We could say that it's $0. Okay, so let's get rid of that. We don't need that. We could just say, if I don't know how much money you make, I'm going to assume the worst. I'm going to assume you make $0. I'm going to assume you're unemployed, and I could do that. So let's just do a quick let's do head, and we'll do DF $, income, oops, make that capital, and let's do 20 of them. Let's hopefully, yeah, see, look, this guy right here, we don't know how much money he makes. So the first 20 people, so let's do that. Let's just do head, whoops, head. So the first, right here, income. We don't know how much money this guy makes. So we could assume the worst. We could assume that this guy makes $0. And look, we've imputed that. See, again, we're doing the same thing we did before. If we don't know what your income is and we had to impute it, we're going to create this guy right here. This is what we did in the last video. But okay, so that's one thing we could do. Another thing we could do is something simple. We could say, if I don't know how much money you make, maybe I could assume that you make the median, which is $53,529. So I could set your income to that instead. So let's do that. Or we could say, so now, if I did we know that the median is $53,000, and I could say, let's copy this guy over into the imputed income. And if it's missing, set it to $53,000. I could do that. Let's take a look at that. Head DF. And see, that guy's missing. And we set it to 53,000. So that's another thing we could do. But you don't have to do a simple imputation. You could do something like this. Maybe we could say, you know, one of the things we know about this is what kind of a job do they have. So let's take a look at that. One of these variables is your job. Where is that? Here it is right there. You got a job. Now, we can all agree that perhaps if the people who make more have a doctor, for example, makes more money than, let's say, um, a person who is a stay-at-home mom. So let's take a look at the kind of jobs that we have. Table DF $ job. And you can see we've got blue collar, well, we got missing. So we have some people we don't know what their job is. We could say blue collar, clerical, doctor, homemaker, lawyer, manager, professional, and student. So why don't we do a quick test to see what kind of jobs these people make. So the command from a previous lecture is I could say aggregate the income by your job, and of course we don't want to, if we have any missing, just don't care about those, and we're going to do the median, and we're going to shove all that guy into the letter A, to the variable A. So let's do that. And then after we're done, we're going to sort this guy in decreasing order. So now if I type in A, you can see that doctors make $121,000 a year. If it's missing, they seem to make $100,000 a year if we don't know what they earn. And that's an interesting thing. I mean, if I don't know what you do for a living, you seem to make a lot of money. That's something as a data scientist you would want to investigate. Perhaps it has something to do with the computer system, and the job is, maybe it's an engineer, for example, who knows, and it doesn't record the job. Who knows what it is? But for some reason, they seem to be missing. Perhaps it's a surgeon. Maybe it's a nurse. Nurses seem to make a lot of money. So maybe it's not on the list. Maybe it's doctor or nothing. The person's job is not on the list. It's hard to say. But for some reason, if it's missing, they make $109,000. Okay, now lawyers make $83,000 on this list. Managers, professional people, blue collar, clerical workers, homemakers, and students. So what could we do with this? Well, what we could do is, again, the first thing we do is we take income and we copy it into our imputed income variable. Okay. Now we could say if you are if your income is missing and you are a doctor, then what we could say is you make $121,000 a year, because doctors tend to make more money than most people. So yeah, maybe you're a doctor that doesn't make a lot of money, but probably you do. If you're a doctor, you're making money. So let's do that. So let's say that all of the doctors make $121,000 a year. And we could do the same thing with the lawyers make 83, and the managers make 78, and the professional people make 71, the managers, the blue collar, etc. So let's do all of those people. And there you go. Now, remember that we still have some people who don't have a job. So remember, there were some of them that were missing. We had the doctor, the lawyer, the manager, etc., but we had some of them we didn't know. So we're going to do one last thing here. We're going to say, if your imputed income, if it's still missing, even after we filled it in everywhere else, we filled it in if you were a doctor and a lawyer and a manager. If everybody is still missing, then we're going to say you make $110,000 a year. So that's the very last thing we do. And then we, of course, create our flag variable here. And then, as always, we get rid of the original variable. We don't need him anymore. And there we go. So now, let's do head df. And you can see income is gone. It's not up here anymore. But look down here. This guy here makes $360. Well, why? Well, probably because he's a student or a homemaker or something. Yep, student. He's a student. So this guy's a student. And actually, I said he. It's a female. It's a female. And she is a student. And so therefore, we don't know how much money she makes. So we're going to guess, because most people in our data set make $360. So we're going to guess that's what she makes. Maybe she makes more or less, but it's a good estimate. So there you have it. Now let's do one last thing, as we have the house. This is the home value. Now what can we do with this? Well, maybe if I don't know what your house is worth, I might say that your house is worth 0, because perhaps you are renting. And that's a business rule. I don't know. Or I could say, what's the average house worth? Or I could do the same thing that I did before. I could say doctors live in expensive houses, and then so do lawyers, and so do managers. So perhaps I could do that. I could say that I could say, what's the home value? Break it down by your job, and let's see what they do. Let's take a quick look. And you can see that, again, doctors make 200 or have expensive houses, and then lawyers and managers, etc., etc. So, and the students, their house is worth 0. Why? Well, that's because most students live in a dorm or an apartment. They don't own a house. So that's something else to do. So we could do the same thing right here. We could do the same thing by saying the value of the house is equal to your, is related to your job. And so we could do that. And then, of course, the last thing we do is get rid of that. So let's just run this one more time. And there you have it. We have now no more missing values. We have to get rid of these categorical variables right now, but we don't have any numeric variables that are missing. And that's a good thing. So let's do structure right now, df. And let's see what we got. So now we've fixed all of the guys who have missing values. We have the imputed age, and then did we fix him? The imputed years on job, did we fix him? Imputed car, did we fix him? So we got all those things. Now, in the next video, we're going to show you how to turn these guys into numbers.